Greetings, beautiful viewers. This is Smitten. Welcome to How to Fail at Smite, my original Smite series where I pick up a new god for the first time and poke fun at how I play so that both of us can learn from my mistakes. Episode 8, Aphrodite. Good news, everybody, it's patch day. I'll be making a video covering the changes later, but for right now it's time to fail at Smite. Kinda dangerous to be playing a support, eh? As you can see, this time we'll be covering Aphrodite, so before we begin, it's time to cover her abilities. Her passive ability is Loving Embrace, which gives 30% of her mana regen to her soulmate. Her number 1 ability is Kiss, which isn't very intimate as she just blows it at her target, but it's enough to make them swoon for her. Kiss an ally and they become your soulmate, triggering her passive and increasing movement speed while triggering no cooldown. If you kiss an enemy, you stun them in their tracks for 1 second. If you have a soulmate and you kiss an enemy, you buff your soulmate's damage for 8 seconds. Tired of all the attention? Well, her number 2 ability tells him to back off. This ability is a knockback that can also deal some pretty respectable damage, and it's buffed by 60% of your magical power. If you have a soulmate, instead of the ability triggering around you, it triggers at your soulmate. If you still can't shake your lustful pursuers after getting that restraining order, her number 3 lovebirds will allow you to heal up any injuries from all the heavy pawing. If you have a soulmate, both of you will receive healing instead of just you. If this connects with an opponent, be it god or minion, it will deal damage. It takes 6 times over 3 seconds and the damage and healing is buffed by 15% of your magical power. Her ultimate Undying Love will make you and your soulmate invulnerable to all damage for 0.8 seconds up to 2 seconds, while also removing all crowd control effects on activation. Use this wisely and you can turn the tide of the teamfight before the enemy can even blink. Make sure you stay tuned until the end of the video for the recap where I go over the abilities and items more thoroughly. In the game, my lane partner is Bakasura, with Kali going mid and Ymir and Ao going right. Ao locked in presuming mid, but Kali had called it, and so they bickered for a while before settling on this composition. Great start, right? I thought so. Baka is letting me grab blue buff as he gets 30% of my mana regeneration. I land the first hit and kite them out of the buff camp to avoid any early invasions and as much damage as possible. As the camp resets, the mob aggroes onto Baka, switching its target and limiting my damage intake. Unfortunately, Baka isn't in the mood to do the same and lets the brute bash on him before I finally use my birds to take it down. With that out of the way, we head off to our lane while Ao Kuang and Kali continue to bicker over who gets mid. I'd definitely say Ymir and Kali are stronger than Ymir and Ao Kuang, but it doesn't seem to have any impact on the arrangement. Bakasura ran to the gold camp and I'm left wondering which direction I should head in. Should I go to the lane or assist Baka? The key to being a good player is making a decision and sticking with it. I've already come this far, might as well make the best of it. Baka leaps in on top of our opponents before deciding that's not the best use of a leap and scurrying away to the tower. I drink a potion as I've taken a good amount of damage due to being unaccustomed to my role and Aphrodite being far squishier than I anticipated. I blow a kiss at Baka and then charge forward into the fray in an attempt to hit the enemy minions with my lovebirds. Catching only the front lane as Guan Yu drives me back with Talu Assault. I line up my kiss on him before he darts away back into his minions, leaving Neith open and ready for the stun. We're in no position to capitalize on it though, and she falls back behind her minion line as Guan Yu takes a potion and prepares for another engagement. I'm feeling confident with our ability to out-sustain our opponents as we posture about before I hit their archers with my lovebirds to help regain some of my health. With the minion wave clear, it looks like they're ready to back off and cool it on the aggression, and Baka and I move to continue our push a bit prematurely. I try to line up my kiss to stun Guan Yu, but he jukes to the right at the last moment. And with my stun down, there is nothing to prevent them from moving in for a kill. Locked in place, Guan Yu moves around our minions and unleashes Talu Assault again as Neith finishes me off with an auto attack. Chapter 1, Trivial Pursuits. Back for more action after my last overextension, I land a kiss on Guan Yu while Baka leaps at an opportunity that isn't there, and Guan Yu retaliates with his ultimate. I knew this wasn't an engagement we should have taken, but I tried my best to rush in and save the isolated bunny. Some things cannot be recovered, and I pull back before noticing how low Neith's health is. I circle back, lining up a kiss to stun her in place, allowing me to land my lovebirds, which I hope will be enough to bring her down. Guan Yu had already left her, allowing me to safely fall back and cross my fingers before sighing in disappointment as Neith escapes without issue. The lane reset eventually, and here we are, at the exact same position, getting hammered by Guan Yu's ultimate, which I don't manage to avoid due to using Undying Love too early. Neith once again finishes me off with an auto attack, all because I'm out of position. Chapter 2, Overextension. If you overlook all the deaths, Baka and I have done an admirable job defending our tower. If only that made up for our inability to stay alive, I'd say I'm pretty happy with how things are going. Guan Yu sets out to destroy my happiness with Tactician's advantage, but I have Undying Love ready to soften the blow. Neith flipped behind me and locked me in place while Baka frantically wails on her backside trying to dissuade her. Our joint efforts seem fruitful as Neith is almost dead and Guan Yu wasted everything he had trying to set up a kill. That is until Bastet rushes in from the bushes and mows us both down. At least Baka managed to kill Neith before we're left staring at a countdown timer again. Chapter 3, Knowing Your Role. At this point, Guan Yu is set off to roam the map to be an annoyance to someone other than Bunny-Sura and I, and Baka heeds the call to help middle lane. I see on my minimap that he's intercepted Guan Yu and that he's giving chase, so I dip into the jungle and try to cut off Guan Yu from any reinforcements. I see Neith attempting to enter the jungle and ready my stun, locking her in place and preventing her from assisting. Foolishly, I place myself between her and the fleeing Guan Yu, not seeming to realize how painful this might actually be. Instead of trying to push to assist Guan Yu, she takes the bait and turns on me, and I panic, forgetting that I have 2 abilities that might prolong my life and allow Baka to join me. By the time I come to my senses, it's too late. Maybe support shouldn't roam alone. Chapter 4, Go It Alone. Determined to not surrender my tower easily, I attempt to push Neith away and deal with her minions, but I'm oh so under-equipped as my damage output just isn't enough to give Neith pause. I utilize my knockback and find myself trapped behind the melee line, but I'm able to slip away without taking much damage. As my minion wave joins me, Neith's window of opportunity closes and she backs off, with Bunny Sir running up the jungle to intercept. I weigh my options and I'm left feeling uncomfortable about the absence of Guan Yu and head into the jungle to check. Learning to trust your instincts is pretty crucial for not getting yourself into bad situations, and it seems my instincts prove correct as Guan Yu dashes face first into my kiss. The 1-second stun, however, leaves me only enough time to flee in panic as he comes stomping up the jungle behind me. Using my undying love at the right moment left me immune to his stun, and I successfully managed to temporarily pull him away from joining Neith as Bunny Sir engages her. But that small victory isn't to last as he returns up the lane through the jungle. I call to Bakasur to be careful and left as I'm fearing he has tunnel vision as I see Neith kiting him around in the lane. Once again, I am proven correct and I joined Baka too late to save him, and I'm left to watch his cute pink fuzzy head burst off his shoulders and come to rest on the floor. Dead Bunny is nothing to cry over, so I redirect my affections to Guan Yu with a kiss and he's forced to pardon himself from the engagement. Animal cruelty aside, I see that Neith is lining up her ultimate on one of my comrades and rush to prevent her from using it, but she backs off without incident and I take the time to clear the lane with my lovebirds. As I finish off the archers, Neith seems to have vanished into thin air, and I'm left wondering what the correct move is. I can see that Bakasura is maneuvering through the jungle to join me and push on towards the tower. For some reason, he changes course just before I engage him anyway, and I find myself completely isolated on the wrong side of the map like a rich girl in a bad neighborhood. A mugger appears and demands my wallet. I refuse and attempt to flee, but find myself surrounded by conspirators, and without my ultimate due to using it too early, I drop to the Neith ultimate I attempted to prevent earlier. Chapter 5, Change of Plans. Bakasura and I have rotated mid out of frustration of being annihilated by the Guan Yu and Neith combo in left lane, but it seems we were premature and our tower is about to come under siege. Ares comes barreling towards me and I slip behind a wall and catch him with my kiss, and I pull back and continue heading to my tower to prevent it from falling. I can see Neith moving under my tower and move to intercept her. Most of my mini wave is already depleted and I ignore hers and push forward. She does the correct thing and ignores me while burning down the tower. From our past engagement, she knows I can do little more than slap at her. As the tower collapses, we trade stuns as Bakasura moves in from behind her. As the bunny hops into the engagement, I'm wondering why he moved so far away from Neith. But then I'm reminded of the Ares I had evaded in the jungle. Chapter 6, Getting Distracted. Having lost both our towers in left lane, we return to middle only to find a teamfight brewing in the jungle beside us. Bakasura leads the retreat with Guan Yu hot on his heels. His ultimate goes to waste as the bunny escapes and Ymir snags him with his frost breath. We turn our attention to Ra and I miss my kiss and we frantically attempt to pile on top of him. But then Ares joins the pursuit and Ra slips into the distance as we dump our abilities onto the 2 tanks. Guan Yu finally dies and Ares drops back to earth only to find himself surrounded and butchered before he can even get his bearings. Bakasura heads back to base as the rest of us push onwards. A successful pair of picks in our hands, morale is high, and we have our sights set on finally taking down a tower, when we're suddenly startled by a blast of searing pain. Oh yeah, Ra, we forgot about you! I wonder if we're going after him, but I find myself alone on the hunt, so I return to the lane, uneasy about how we've all decided to split up. Fortunately, Ymir and Kali back away too. No, they didn't want to regroup. Kali wanted the non-existent red buff, but after finding the camp cleared, she returns to the lane to engage Neith, who promptly stuns her as Ra roasts her under a celestial beam. With Baka jungling and Ao pushing back left lane, we really don't have the composition to continue this engagement. And Neith is eager to get back into the thick of things. My knockback does little to abate her aggression, and we trade off in the center while I'm left with the best weapon against the situation, Hope of Salvation. Of course it doesn't arrive when we lose an engagement due to short attention spans. Chapter 7, Awareness. Interesting fights can develop when you have no map vision. This is a lesson I seem to be eager to ignore, however, and move to engage Guan Yu, who sidesteps my kiss and I find Ares appear out of nowhere. My lovebirds are spent and I'm taking massive damage as I pop my ultimate to break the slow from Ares. Ymir wanders from around the corner and locks him up in frostbite before throwing up a wall, allowing me to escape. We walk around the buff camp and into the lane to assist Kali, who is being pursued by Ares and Guan Yu. And just as I prepare my kiss to apply a heal, I intercept Neith's ult, mostly by accident. Ares capitalizes and wastes his ult as his chains would have been more than enough to secure the kill. Chapter 8, While You're Ahead. Bakasura had taken the opportunity to solo the fire giant as we rallied in right lane after losing a tower to Bastet. I was too far away to support their push in any timely fashion, so instead attempted to divide their attention and get some farm up by pushing their tower in left. Everything seemed to be going well as the tower went down. But then we lost Ymir and Right, and I proceeded to advance on their minion wave, clearing it out with my Bloodbirds. And as the dot was ticking, I was weighing my options. Should I risk it and go for the Phoenix, or should I try to book it to right lane? Bastet rounds the corner and makes the decision for me as I tuck my braids between my legs and run towards middle. The fight in right lane seems to have concluded itself, and my efforts in left have been rewarded with an inner tower. Is it time to take stock of the situation and regroup? This is a rhetorical question I sometimes ask myself, as I know full well the answer to that question is never! I failed to properly line up my Lovebirds on non-moving targets and descend upon the tower, seeming to have forgotten all about the Bastet sitting only a stone's throw away from me. Bakasura picks up Neath, and I feel that since the conflict is continuing, I need to try to distract our opponents from joining up against Baka and Right. My Lovebirds have become rather effective at clearing waves at this point, and I return my attention to the tower, desperate to get it as low as possible as Bastet shows up to defend it. She releases her cats and I shield myself in my ultimate before trying the kiss to stun her in place, followed by my knockback to try to put some distance between myself and the felines. It doesn't seem to matter, as I had made my decisions and nothing I could have done would have gotten me down that lane. Chapter 9. Leading the charge! I return to middle lane to find Kali fleeing from the jungle. I line up my kiss so that I can help heal her up, but as we round the corner, Kali gets sniped by Ra. Bunny, Sir, Ymir, and I all stare at the ice wall, stunned at what just happened, and move around confused as to our next move. As we enter a 4v4 situation in mid, Kali is just as impressed as we were by Ra's sniping ability. With both Ra and Ao Kwang clearing up the mini waves, Bastet peels off from their group to go get red buff. Baka moves to intercept her through the jungle, but finds that he's outnumbered as Neath moves to aid her teammate. Ares sees how eager I am to be part of the action and moves forward to chain me. Before he gets his searing flesh off on me, I heal up with my Lovebirds and pull back, as Ymir moves forward to stop his assault. I see Baka leaping away from his antagonizers in the jungle and momentarily forget my role of support and move forward to attempt to ward off any thoughts of tower diving. As we focus Neath, Ares comes up from behind with his ult, and I burn my Aegis before he can pull me in. Guan Yu comes in with his ult from off screen, and I evade the stun with Undying Embrace. Ao Kwang isn't so lucky and is taken out by Guan. I become vengeful and stun Guan Yu to allow Baka time to puke out his ult and start blasting away at him. Despite the attempts of Ares and Neath, one jump from Baka picks up Guan. I'm out of position as support to get reminded of Ra's presence when I turn around to find Neath trying to pick me up with her ultimate. I do get a stun off and she goes down to Baka, but I end up being too engaged and allow Ares to take me down. Chapter 10. Power Forward. Bakasura moved to Fire Giant in an attempt to solo it, but finds he's low on cooldowns or something and screams for help. I moved into position and prepared to stun to stop Neath and Ra from stealing Fire Giant as Ymir rushed to aid Baka. Digging deep in my bag of trips, I try to bait the pair into middle lane and away from the objective. It seems I was successful as I turned to see Ra bearing down on us with searing pain. My kiss lands on Kali instead of the intended Neath, and the fight is on. We collect Fire Giant and the tables turn as Kali launches an assault on Neath, while Ra misses every ability. Before I decide to power up the lane with hopes of doing something, walking directly into a Celestial Beam. Wiser from the experience, I pull back while taking shots on his minion lane. Kali joins me, and as I turn, he fires yet another beam in our direction. It barely connects with Kali. So I take the opportunity to kiss her and soothe her wounds with my Lovebirds as Ymir trades blows with Guan Yu and Ares in the jungle. As he breaks off into middle lane with us, Ra is joined by Ares and we start the awkward positioning phase of a group fight where we currently have the advantage. Baka moves up the jungle to our right and we begin to separate rather than moving as a unit. Advantage or not, we're determined to squander it. With my Lovebirds clearing the minion wave, Guan Yu poaches from the jungle towards me. As he begins Talu's assault, Ymir returns and locks him up with Frost Breath, and I hold my kiss until it releases to chain stun him, but both our melee fighters are out of position to capitalize and he makes a narrow escape. At this point, Ares is pretty tanky and feels secure charging our line knowing all our stuns are down. I evade his ultimate with mine and send out more Lovebirds as Guan Yu pops Tactician's Advantage. I'm frantically trying to trigger my Aegis, but it becomes available too late. Chapter 11. That just happened. We now enter right lane in the thick of the action, and I move in and get my kiss off on Kali just as Ao Kwang hammers Ares with his ultimate, which causes Ares to trigger no escape in an attempt to save his tower, but Undying Love protects Kali and I lock him up with a kiss, allowing my allies to bring him down. With Ares and Neath dead, there isn't much to protect this tower, or this Phoenix I imagine, but you never know how things will play out. As the tower falls, I re-establish Kali as my soulmate. Funny how fickle being a soulmate seems to be, and we push forward. I could have selected Ao Kwang instead, but I wasn't really paying attention, and with a flair for drama, we both burn our abilities on a mini-wave that was sure to die. As Bastet moves in to protect the Phoenix, we find the group has decided to split their attention as Guan Yu and Ra enter from the jungle. Kali didn't get the memo and stays into the Phoenix, engaging Bastet directly. As she falls, my team splits off into middle lane, and I get that strange feeling of being out of position and alone again. I hear the telltale sound of her lash and turn to face my pursuer with a stun, all the while embarrassingly missing with my Lovebirds. I pop my Aegis hoping my minions can deal just enough damage to allow me to bring her down with back off. Startled by my success, I back, letting my team know how amused I am at what just happened. Assassin, meet support and eat your heart out. Chapter 12. Out of position. Bakasura has become overconfident in his ability to handle Fire Giant alone and attempted to go for it even though we had 3 down. I missed my kiss on him but landed on Neath and would narrowly avoid a searing pain. They now have Fire Giant and we foolishly separated and ran in different directions. Kali is moving to our position as AOS just respawned. I search for Baka trying to regroup with him, but I become aware that I might be being followed. Sure enough, there's Neith and I move towards Kali, not wanting to take her on alone. My kiss misses Kali even though the lips pass right through her, so my stun is down for this upcoming engagement. As Ra finishes off Baka, Kali and I attempt to engage, but we realize how high her damage output actually is, and she burns down Kali just as AO hits her with his ultimate. I stun Ares, but AO is now isolated, and as he hits no escape, Ra rounds the corner. I forget all about hitting Undying left. Rooted in a swarm of enemies, I rush towards the lane, but it's too late to do anything other than to fall to Ra. Shortly after this, Ymir falls to our opponents, and it's just a matter of them zerging our Minotaur to pick up the win. A good game to my teammates and a good game and well played to my opponents for that decisive victory. Wonky composition aside, they beat us handily as we squandered our every advantage. So now it's time for the recap. I loved playing Aphrodite, and so far she's my favorite god that I've done a video on. I find myself much more comfortable in support roles because it complements my passive playstyle well. Her sustain is out of this world, and I think that if she laned with the right god, there isn't much that can be done to stop them. She is squishy in the beginning phase, but that can be addressed with proper starter items. Her abilities make her appear to be weak in damage and an easy target, but I feel that she gets underestimated more often than not. After consulting with the best from First Gaming, here's what I recommend for ability prioritization. Her ultimate Undying Lev is extremely powerful. When it is maxed out, the 2 seconds of invulnerability and removal of all crowd control effects for you and your soulmate could really make the difference in a team fight. Because of this, you should level your 4 whenever it is available. Lovebird should be leveled second, and in my opinion is one of her best abilities because of the magical power boost. If you pick up Ratatouille as your last item in this build, your heal ticks for around 170 and deals around 200 damage per second. Her number 3 Back Off takes 3rd priority. This move is great when you find yourself alone because it knocks back enemies. It also works well when you have a soulmate because it slows the targets that are close to your soulmate. Her Kiss is to be leveled last because the only thing that scales with this ability are the movement speed and damage percentages. When it comes to her build, there are a few ways to go, but in both builds you have 3 core items: Wall of Absolution, Void Stone, and Sovereignty. You'll generally want a tanky Aphrodite, and this is one way to do it. Start off with Mark of the Vanguard to boost your survivability, and Boots of the Magi for the magical power and mana. Next, buy Wall of Absolution for the physical protection, magical power, and MP5. Follow that up with Void Stone for the magical power, protection, and magical defense reduction aura. Sovereignty should be picked up next because it increases the magical and physical protections of nearby teammates by 20, which is great for team support. Another core build you can go for would be picking up Vampiric Shroud first for the sustain and transferring to either Boots of Celerity for cooldown reduction, Magi for penetration and additional magical power, or Reinforced Boots for extra tankiness. Then grabbing Void Stone followed by the Wall of Absolution and then Chronos Pendant to really be able to span her abilities. This core build focuses a little more on output rather than tankiness, but it's just up to your preference. The last items are always chosen by situation. If you find yourself up against bursty mages, then you should pick up either Magi's Blessing for the absorb as well as the additional mana and health. If the team is more diverse, however, grab Bulwark of Hope for the 50% reduction to damage when at low health. If you're up against high burst physical, then choose either the Breastplate of Valor for the extra mana and cooldown reduction or the Hide of the Nemean Lion for health and reflective damage. If you didn't need both the protection items, sell off your starter item and pick up Ratatouille. Just remember that item builds aren't something you follow to a T. You use them as a rough outline and change them as necessary in the game. No one build will work in every situation. If we tickled your fancy, make sure to rate and subscribe for upcoming videos. You can also come hang out with us on Facebook and Twitter. Links in the description. Feel free to leave your suggestions on how to play this god as well as any feedback you have for us in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. I'm Smitten, and I'll see you next time.
Good game. Bye.